All right, blunder number 9, not keeping up. And as we show in this cartoon here, it's like, yeah, can be some offices that have that attitude that don't need to keep up, but we can't afford to do that in our careers. And we're talking about more than just skills. Well, where will this field be in 5 or 10 years? Through a good part of the early part of my career, I was waiting for my employer to train me. They kept announcing training programs, and it's okay. I want, what program do you have for me next? So that was a failure on my part. Now, one thing I did not blunder in, I was reading magazines and things to keep up with technical trends. So that was a good step on my part. But I was also professionally isolated. I wasn't interacting with anyone outside of my work group. So I was in isolation from what others in the field were doing. And about maybe 25 years ago, I remember thinking, stopping to think that our company had just come up with a list of new courses they were offering. And I started looking over the list thinking, well, which of these courses do I need to take to stay relevant? And as I looked over all this, I realized I need to take all of them, and because I hadn't been keeping up. And a few years after that, I was again thinking, well, what other kind of work, if I moved on from this job, what else could I do? And I realized I'm really only qualified to do one thing, the job I'm currently in. Not a good place to be. So, diagnosis. Now, as we talked about, you're not looking ahead. That's you're not going to be able to keep ahead if you're not looking there. Keep up if you're not looking there. You're expecting your employer to provide training and just to develop you as an employee. Now, it's something an employer should be doing, but we shouldn't be depending on them to do that for us. And also, you're experiencing professional isolation. You're not interacting with others in the field, not finding out, what others who do similar work might be going in a different direction that it would be helpful for you to know about. So that interaction is really critical to keeping your career on track. And hopefully you haven't discovered, like I did, that you're qualified for only one job, your current one. Remedies. Research trends. And it's easy to do nowadays. Google keeps things in your face all day long. If they're not popping up stories in front of you, you can easily go hunt for that information. And then you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay with legacy work, or are you going to move forward? And staying with legacy may not be a bad choice. An example, in the 1990s, you may remember a programming language named COBOL. In the 90s, it was on its way out, but people in their 60s might have made a valid choice back then, knowing their career direction. If they're intending to retire in 5 or 10 years, staying with the legacy would have been a good choice. That was their opportunity. And as more and more people left COBOL, there was still enough legacy work, but particularly when the year 2000 hit, that the COBOL people who stayed with COBOL were doing well. Now, if you were in your 40s or 50s in the 1990s, staying with COBOL might have been dangerous, because in another 5 or 10 years, you might not have had skills that you could market to anywhere. And people in the 20s and 30s weren't learning COBOL at all, so that wasn't a decision they had to deal with. Invest in yourself. Pay for some training. I mean, there's actually a lot of training available now that's free. You're just investing time. Get a certification. You know, as part of your research, find out what certifications are valuable in your line of work, and take the time, effort, and money to go get that certification, or just buy and read a book. There's lots of good books on topics, or nowadays, listen to your book. And start networking and conducting informational interviews. Find out from others working in the field, you know, what are they seeing? What are they experiencing? What can you learn from them? And what can they learn from you? You can contribute to their career direction as well.